2 weeks ago, the assumption was simple. LeBron walks out the door, and his son walks out right behind him. The media was telling this kid to retire. Everybody assumed the Lakers would just ship Bronny wherever his dad landed. Since then, the entire situation flipped upside down. As of this week, the 21-year-old everybody felt sorry for actually has real clarity about his future. Meanwhile, the greatest player of his generation, a guy who's controlled every room he's walked into for 23 years, is the one currently wandering the league with no idea where he's going. So what actually changed? 3 things happened. A report dropped that killed the reunion story almost everyone assumed was coming. Bronny quietly got what amounts to a promotion, so low-key that most of the news cycle missed it completely. And buried inside that good news is one real reason you shouldn't fully buy it yet. There's also a detail from 3 years ago, a quote from LeBron himself, that might predict exactly how this entire story ends. Quick recap in case you missed it. On June 29th, the Lakers fully guaranteed Bronny's $2.3 million contract. One day later, LeBron told the franchise he was leaving after 8 years. Within an hour of that news breaking, the top reaction across social media was jokes about who gets custody of Bronny. Everybody assumed LeBron waited until his son's money was locked in, then told the Lakers he was gone, and that the natural next step was Bronny getting shipped to wherever his father signed. Then, on July 14th, The Athletic's Dan Woik, a longtime Lakers beat writer, reported something that complicated all of that. Citing league sources granted anonymity to discuss front office strategy, he reported the assumption that LeBron and Bronny stay linked going forward is false. According to that reporting, Bronny is genuinely well-liked in the Lakers locker room, respected for his work ethic, and viewed internally as a player who's improved significantly over 2 seasons. And to be fair, that part checks out on tape. He looks like a completely different player than the one who first entered the league. JJ Redick even said before the playoffs that the coaching staff trusted him, and Bronny ended up earning real playoff minutes because of it. According to The Athletic, his actual future could be in Los Angeles regardless of where his father ends up signing. But it's worth being precise here, because this is exactly where a lot of channels get sloppy. This is one outlet, with anonymous sourcing. Shams Charania hasn't matched it. Dave McMenamin hasn't matched it either. The Lakers haven't announced anything officially. So the accurate way to frame this is that the single best-sourced Lakers reporter at The Athletic put his name behind a story saying the assumed reunion isn't as definitive as everyone thought. That's the real state of things. No more, no less. Here's the part that got almost completely buried, and it might actually be the most important development in this whole story. Look at Bronny's last 3 summers. In 2024, he played the full summer league, and it was a genuine circus, sold-out arenas, courtside celebrities, every touch replayed on SportsCenter, and the infamous moment where Jaylen Brown was caught on a hot mic questioning whether Bronny looked like a professional. In 2025, he was still on the roster, but the Lakers pulled him before the final game, having already seen what they needed to see. In 2026, Bronny wasn't on the Summer League roster at all. Instead, he sat in the stands as a spectator during the Lakers' Vegas win, and he's now participating in the team's voluntary veteran minicamp that started this week. Think about what that actually signals. A voluntary veteran minicamp in the middle of July isn't a tryout. That's the coaching staff bringing in the guys they actually plan to feature and starting to install next season's system. Guys fighting just to make the roster play Summer League. Guys the team already sees as part of the real rotation skip it entirely and go straight to minicamp. In 2 years, Bronny went from headlining Summer League to watching it from the stands with the veterans. The Lakers didn't make a big announcement about it. They just quietly stopped treating him like a project. If you're new here, this is exactly the kind of underneath the headline breakdown we do every week. Hit subscribe so you catch the next update, because this story is genuinely still moving. At the same time, there's another angle worth paying attention to. The Lakers used the 24th overall pick this year on Carr out of Baylor, a guard whose minutes would come from the exact same pool Bronny's fighting for. Scouts love his jumper, his release point, his bounce in the open floor, and in Summer League, Carr has been genuinely impressive. 19 points and 5 threes in his debut, 26 points and 8 rebounds in a double overtime win over Miami, and 23 points against the Clippers. including 8 straight points to close out the game. His summer league coach told the LA Times that Carr reads the game well and corrects mistakes quickly. He's not the only competition either. Adutiero, last year's 36th overall pick, has posted strong efficiency numbers in the G League chasing similar minutes, and Jaden Hardy recently arrived in the DeAndre Ayton trade, adding even more depth to that same guard room. Stack it all together, and the Lakers' backcourt now includes Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Colin Sexton, Quentin Grimes, Jaden Hardy, Carr, and Bronny. That's the room Bronny needs to survive in. So here's the actual fact sheet. The organization got quieter and warmer toward Bronny than it's ever been, in the exact same month it made his path to real minutes harder than it's ever been. He got the promotion and the extra competition simultaneously, which raises an uncomfortable question. Pay attention to the specific wording in that athletic report. League sources granted anonymity to discuss front office strategy. Anytime you see that phrase, ask who benefits from this becoming public. There are 2 clean readings here, and they point in opposite directions. The first is simple. It's just true. The team values him. His teammates like him. The improvement is real, and praise costs a front office nothing when it's genuine. The second reading is more skeptical. If you're a front office that might trade a player in a few weeks, this is exactly the kind of messaging you'd want circulating first. Well-liked, respected worker, improved tremendously. That's not really a news story at that point. That's closer to a listing photo. And it matters here specifically because the Lakers already gutted a huge chunk of their draft capital to land Walker Kessler this offseason, meaning they need to extract maximum value out of anyone they eventually trade. Bronny, as the cheapest useful contract on the roster and likely one of the highest jersey sales players in the building, isn't the kind of asset a front office gives away for nothing. Meanwhile, LeBron himself remains in total limbo. It's been over 2 weeks since he told the Lakers he was leaving, and as of right now, he still doesn't have a team. At Fanatics Fest, when Tyrese Halliburton asked him directly about his future, LeBron simply deflected and declined to answer. His free agency has now stretched longer than his 2010, 2014, and 2018 decisions combined. Insider reporting is split. Mark Stein has called a return to Cleveland the scenario to beat. Anthony Slater has reported that Golden State's own decision-makers have privately been pessimistic since the start of free agency, chasing LeBron while quietly assuming Cleveland wins out the entire time. So while the entire league holds its breath waiting on LeBron, his son quietly grabbed a gym bag and reported to camp. One of these two clearly knows where he'll be in October, and it isn't the 4-time champion. It's honestly a little wild watching LeBron cause this much of a circus while going on a podcast tour during the exact stretch the entire league is holding its breath over him. Even Pat Riley couldn't resist bringing it up while introducing Giannis Antetokounmpo in Miami, telling the room they'd landed one plane and now had another one left to land. Here's where history actually matters though, because LeBron has left a team 3 times before, and the pattern afterward has been brutal. When he left Cleveland in 2010, the Cavaliers went 19-63, one of the worst records in modern American sports history. When he left Miami in 2014, the Heat missed the playoffs entirely after 4 straight finals appearances. When he left Cleveland again in 2018, they went 19-63 again, the exact same record. Every previous team LeBron walked away from collapsed, and collapsing teams get desperate. They cling to every asset, every jersey seller, every warm body they can hold on to. But the Lakers are breaking that pattern completely. They're the first team LeBron has ever left that already had a legitimate top 5 player locked in as the new franchise cornerstone. Luka Doncic is 27 years old and signed for the long haul. Desperate teams hoard players. Confident teams get to choose. For the first time in LeBron's career, the team he's leaving actually has the luxury of making a clear-headed, unforced decision about his son instead of a desperate one. And that brings us to the quote that might explain how this actually ends. Back in 2023, before Bronny had even played a single college game, LeBron gave an interview to ESPN about his dream of sharing an NBA floor with his son. Everyone remembers the Ken Griffey Jr. comparison. Almost nobody remembers the actual full quote. LeBron said he needed to be on the floor with his son, either in the same uniform or in a matchup against him. Read that again. Either. Both versions were named as the dream. The same uniform chapter already happened, giving us 2 real seasons of history together. The other half of that dream, the matchup, is the part loading right now. Because if Wake's reporting holds and LeBron signs somewhere other than Los Angeles, the first father versus son game in NBA history goes on next season's schedule. Even Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. never got that version. They shared a lineup in Seattle, but they never once stood on opposite sides. There's more supporting this too. JJ Redick has revealed that from day one, LeBron specifically demanded his son be coached simply as Bronny, not as LeBron's son. And back in March, in a real non-gimmick game against Indiana with the Lakers banged up, Bronny played meaningful rotation minutes alongside his father in a genuine 7-point win. Afterward, LeBron told The Athletic those were minutes he couldn't have dreamed of and said flatly that Bronny belongs. That's essentially the last major on-record thing LeBron said about playing alongside his son before announcing his departure about 90 days later. He said his son belonged, and then removed the one thing that made anyone doubt it. It's also worth remembering exactly what makes this story land differently than a typical roster note. Bronny went into cardiac arrest during a practice at USC back in the summer of 2023, and his life was saved right there on the court. 3 years later, his father is watching him play real rotation minutes in the NBA. That context is why he belongs carried so much weight coming from LeBron specifically, and it's part of why this entire situation feels heavier than a normal depth chart conversation. Through all of this, Bronny himself has said almost nothing publicly. 2 weeks of retirement takes, trade theories, and custody jokes online, and not one public statement about his father leaving. He just showed up to camp. But if you want to know what he's actually thinking, he already told us back in March, when asked directly what it's like sharing the floor with his father. He said it was never something he'd really thought about for himself, that it was always something there to take part in, but never the main focus. So where does this actually land? Bronny James looks like he's going to be a Laker on opening night. The reporting points that way, the minicamp invite points that way, and the money has pointed that way from the start. Unless LeBron's eventual team massively overpays, there's no obvious version where the Lakers give that up for a second-round pick. But this might be bigger than a simple roster decision now. The first father versus son game in NBA history might carry more value to this league than almost any trade package could. And deep down, it's worth wondering whether LeBron actually wants that version too, given he's the one who said, 3 years ago, that either outcome completed the same dream. So tell me what you think. If you're a Lakers fan, do you even want Bronny back, given how stacked that guard room already is? And does LeBron end up getting his wish for a real father versus son matchup? Or does one more twist flip this story all over again before the season even starts? It's worth remembering LeBron himself has always been careful to separate his own dream from his son's actual path, saying explicitly in that same 2023 interview that just because sharing the floor was his own aspiration, didn't mean it had to be Bronny's, and that whatever his son chose, the family would support it. That's the same instinct JJ Redick later confirmed shaped how Bronny was coached from day one, as his own player, not as an extension of his father's legacy. Let me know in the comments.